然后接下来是来自海外的嘉宾，Fillip Isgro，然后大家可能在互联网上比较知道他的 ID 是 Machine Delusions， 很多人可能在 C 站上用过他的模型和见过他的作品。然后今天他会跟我们分享 ComfyUI 里面的 VFX 的视觉和高光的案例。Welcome, Phil.
Thank you. Sorry? And then we're going to plug in for this suite. Cool. No sounds. Just All right, Ni hao, Shanghai. My name is Phillip, also known. And one more round of applause for ComfyOrg. This has been awesome so far. ComfyOrg. So my name is Machine Delusions. I'm a technical artist. I do all sorts of things ranging from animations to still images, fine-tuning, custom node development, just a developer in general. And I've spent the last few years really honing my skills in Comfy. And here I have a plethora of different art being generated. This is all using Animate Diff. I like to focus a lot of my attention to fine-tuning specific styles, inventing styles that have never existed before, and really finding my own voice in the technology and not only relying on what the base models are capable of. And so a lot of my talk today is going to be focused upon creating and how to think about creating your own systems, as well as fine-tuning the models to get the best out of them. A lot of my style is rooted in like a mixture of like flat vector art, realism. I love abstract. I love things that I can't produce any other way. I love when AI is the only facet in which I can get the result. I think that's the real power of AI, because everything else is AI trying to replicate reality. And I'm not trying to replicate reality. I'm trying to create something surreal, something unreal. And some of my work has even been published and viewed in Hollywood. This entire intro sequence is from Jennifer Lopez's new movie, This Is Me Now, on Amazon Prime. This entire intro sequence was done in ComfyUI. As you can see, it was a constant zoom out. So every image had to be extremely high resolution, 15K minimum resolution in order for the zoom out to work. But ComfyUI came through. I trained multiple LoRa's on style, character consistency. This was very infant as well. This was years ago at this point. But it is awesome to know that Comfy in itself is being seen and respected in the industry as a tool to create professional content viewed on the big screen. So that was an intro of that, and really, really proud of that. Now, I'm here to talk about VFX and art creation. I touched on a little bit about that before, and we're going to be touching on 4 main points: templated iteration, fine-tuning, style exploration, VFX and video editing, and custom pipelines with custom nodes. So template iteration, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is creating a template or a workflow in Comfy that is reproducible in its aesthetic or its task, but variable in its output ability. And that being displayed here with these separate subjects, Shrek being one. These aren't actually 3D images. They're not real models. I'm using SVD to simulate a 3-dimensional view. There's been a few models like that that have been coming out, but here's another example where the Game Boy is very clearly the templated system, and I'm generating 3 things here. I'm generating the Game Boy texture itself, the video inside the Game Boy, as well as the exterior, even though they're the same for these 3 examples. And then I go even further in this example where I generated an image in Flux, and then I created actually 5 variables. 5 variables in this. Do I have a laser here? Yeah, I do. Nice. I have 5 variables. 1 of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, and I even went as far as to put the reflections in. So the reflections are completely hands-off, all ComfyUI. There's no human comping or anything. All I have to do as a user is drop 3 images into the workflow and hit go, and the rest is done automatically and templated. And so this is what that system looks like. How am I doing it? Well, I'm basically creating 5 masks. 3 for each of the TVs, 2 for the reflections, right? And those are illustrated here through the 5 masks. And I'm doing it through 1 color. And then over here, I'm basically just generating videos from 3 images. In this case, IP adapter, animate diff. And here's the example of the Game Boy. The Game Boy is a little more simple. This was like one of the first examples I ever executed this on. And the idea is pretty simple. I have 3 sections to the workflow, 1 for the background, 1 for the background of the Game Boy, and the final one for the Game Boy. And it's all being auto-comped together inside Comfy. And then I went even further, trying to simulate Pokemon cards that are stealing the user's likeness and generating multivariable things like elements and et cetera, et cetera. So the elements would go here, the user would select it, it would run the initial video, this section is an upscaler, and then it gets comped all at the very end to create a templated, reproducible, yet variable piece of art. And then the final example here is just videos generated and put in as Polaroids. Why I like this system is it allows for the curation of building a sandbox in which you play inside, and then having the ability with Comfy to iterate endlessly within that system that you've crafted. This system before you does not need to be flowers at all. It can be anything you want. I just happen to choose flowers. If I were to come and switch these flowers to just pictures of you in the audience, that template at the end would not change. The only thing that would change would be the videos inside of the template. And I think this is a really powerful system that I don't see enough people leveraging. The second point is fine-tuning and style exploration. Now, I think a lot of the community does a very good job at getting 50% of the way there. And what I mean by 50% is they might find an artist that they like online, train a LoRa. They might find a LoRa on Civitai or any other place, download it and use it. But I don't think people stack the LoRas enough and really stack them. So this is just Flux, right? I'm just stacking a few LoRas, nice and simple. Well, here I have an example. I have 3 separate artists. I think the third one isn't really even a single artist. But I have 3 separate styles. And I want to train a LoRa for each of the styles individually. And then I go do that. But that's what the 50% was that I was just mentioning. Is it's not good enough to just train someone's style and then one-to-one replicate it. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to create new and innovative things that cannot be created any other way, and AI being that thing that can help us. So, style 1, style 2, and style 3. Now, what happens when we combined all 3 of these LoRas? Well, we get something truly unique and truly something that I can say is mine, that I have created through this, the workflow, the training process, the dialing, and then eventually coming out with the results on the other end. And here's another example. So this example, with these ones, I generated them with DALL-E. This one is a vector artist that I highly respect. And I wanted to combine these styles, something that has never been done before. And the results are really cool. I'm like super, super satisfied with these results. These are things that no matter how much I would have prompted, I could never have gotten these styles. And it's interesting, when we go back to this for a second, if you notice the circles behind these characters, and then obviously this like glitchy checkerboard-like effect, those things come through very prominently in these images, where you can see the circles behind the characters, you can obviously see these glitches, right? But they're aesthetics that I found appealing, but in individual art styles, but I wanted to combine them. And I think that doing this process not only allows you to express yourself in a way that's unique and truly yours, but also educates people in why this software, this process, AI in general, is an actual art. It is something that should be respected. And to wrap that all up, once you've found your style, Comfy allows you to bounce them down to save checkpoints. And I've tried this many, many times. If you have a workflow, and you have your settings, and you run an image, and you have the seed locked, and then you save that checkpoint, load it up, and run the same seed, it will be the exact same output. And this is incredibly powerful. This is super, super powerful. It allows you to use LoRa's like fine-tuning with very fine-grained control, obviously with block swapping and clip merging. And you can get as complicated as you want, right? Multi-checkpoints, we're merging clips. We're taking that model and we're bouncing it into another merge, right? This one is merge subtract. So we're subtracting the difference between the 2 clips. And then eventually we're bouncing them all down into a checkpoint that we can use for later or call our own, basically. This method goes even further with fine-tuning and expressing yourself through model creation. Here is an example where I am training slider LoRas. I don't know if anyone has heard of slider LoRas. Yes, maybe a few? Okay. Slider LoRas are incredibly powerful. They're incredibly powerful because they allow you to disentangle the embedding space and essentially train concepts with 0 images and still fine-tune concepts. So this top example, I am tuning age. But age is being affected on this character, but nothing else is. On this middle example, I'm targeting the class of skin tone, and I'm dialing it with darkness, something that models have been very bad to do in the past. And then this one is the opposite. Starts with very light, and then goes to the main character at the beginning here. But the idea is I can target a class token, in this case, skin color, and then I can train in another paired set of tokens, in this case, dark skin or age, old, woman. I can train those phrases into the class of skin tone and then train a LoRa, and then once I have that LoRa, well, then I can bounce it down and save it into a checkpoint, effectively fine-tuning that model to be whatever it needs to be. The third point, VFX and video editing. Now, we've had the pleasure to see the WAN crew, WAN video model, extremely powerful. A lot of my examples today are going to be based on that video model. I've been playing with it for the last few weeks. And it can do a lot of very, very powerful things. This is just traditional video to video. I'm just using depth. I'm actually using depth before they release their official control LoRa's and models. But it's a very, very capable model. This is the 1.3 billion parameter, not the 14 billion. It is by far some of the best video-to-video examples I've ever gotten out of a video model wholesale. It allows me to prompt very easily. It follows character consistency. And most notably, what I found extremely interesting is over here, if you notice the shadows casted by the umbrella, that was not inferred anywhere in the original video. And yet the video model was smart enough to infer that an object was overhead and a shadow should have been casted. And I think this is incredible. The applications and the implications of this technology is amazing. And we can even go deeper by literally digging holes into carpets. This is a test I did in my living room where I just wanted to see if the video model was capable enough of inferring motion and camera panning from nothing more than the surrounding latent in the encoded video. And so this is basically how I did it. Created a mask very crudely and put that mask over a can sitting on the carpet. Why did I use a can? Well, I needed something to ground the depth model. It wasn't enough to have a flat plane. I needed something to ground it, so I used a can. And then through experimentation, I would run and run and run. But eventually coming out with something that, in my opinion, is just so fun to watch. It's so silly, and why would he ever dig a hole through a carpet? I don't know. And then my last point is custom pipelines with custom nodes. So I'm a developer. I work on fill nodes. If you've ever seen this purple hue in one of your workflows, it is because of me. I am truly sorry. However, at this point, I've created 100 nodes. And I feel like it's an anniversary standing up here. These nodes do a lot of different things. Everything from caption manipulation, CSV, OLAMA, etc., to PDF manipulation. A lot of things with language models require PDFs, so a lot of PDF manipulation stuff I've added. And even just straight up like VFX, ASCII, halftone effects, pixelator, dithers, hexagons, pixel sorts. I even have shaders. I have shaders right here. So you can run GLSL right in Comfy. The Blender, shout out to the Blender guy that was just before me. And I've even gone as far as to manipulate the actual DOM, the JS side of things, creating custom nodes that not only function on the Python side of things, but are useful and visually interactive on the browser side of things. Some notable examples would be the load image that is effectively a file browser for your system and then outputs an image. But where I'm going with all this is custom nodes and custom development allow you as a creator to take control of the end pipeline and make it your own. And there is a lot of things that are left to be desired in the ecosystem, and it's people like you, it's people like me who take it upon ourselves to create those missing puzzle pieces and fit them in our workflows. You fit my puzzle pieces into yours. I'm sure there's a bunch of developers in here that I'm using your custom nodes and I don't even know it. But that's the beauty of this ecosystem, is taking control and being like, this custom node doesn't exist. Maybe I should be the one to make it. Maybe I should be the one to share it. But that's about it. I appreciate the time. Thank you for everyone's attention, and enjoy the con.
啊，请问大家有没有问题？我们大家可以接受1到2个问题。No? Okay.
Oh, thank you. I'm very interested in the fourth part in your speech and the custom pipelines with custom nodes. I want to know, how do I start it if I want to build my own customer nodes and I want to rebuild wheels, and just I'm just enjoy this process. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. This is a great question. A lot of people want to create custom nodes and they don't know where to start. The easiest place that I started was learning from the people that came before me. Now, simply put, we have LLMs now. Going and finding a custom node, going and finding a custom pack that does a similar function to what you want, going to something like GPT or DeepSeek or your favorite LLM, having a conversation about it, getting it to break it down. Once you have a decent understanding of the fundamentals of how that custom node works, try changing things about it, asking for small iterations. I know not everyone is a developer, yet some people want to create their own things. This is why I recommend the LLMs. ComfyOrg itself has also put a lot of effort and work behind making their documents very robust. So I would definitely suggest checking out their documentation. But at this point in the ecosystem, there are examples in every domain of other people creating nodes that you can use as examples, and even my pack as an example. I have K-samplers in there, conditioning, image manipulation, shaders, PDF, JavaScript, normal Python execution. LLMs are your best friend in this case, and start small.
还有没有问题？OK.
Hey Phil, I have a question about kind of your own process of kind of exploring what's interesting for you to create something that's new, right? You talk a lot about that. So you were a big anime div person, and I know the Animate Diff gives you a lot of control. That's like a really good tool for you to kind of explore your creativity in that way. With some of these new models that are coming out, are you changing your process to think about how to use those new tools to create new things, and what's kind of your direction in doing that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think Comfy, as a team in general, they've been working really hard to bring a lot of the control and a lot of the compatibility to these new models. However, when I pick up something new and it doesn't have a control net, or it doesn't have IP adapters, it puts me in a different box. And I think a lot of what I wanted to try to iterate today was that you need to put yourself in creative boxes on purpose so that you can truly explore an avenue. I think it's too easy to get lost in Comfy because there's too many options, and you truly don't explore one avenue to its fullest, and you end up kind of like maybe settling on an area because you're like, well, it works. But when you put yourself in the creative box, or are forced to be put in a creative box because these video models or other architectures don't have the same capabilities or the same ecosystems built around them, it really does make you think in different ways. So I just try to be flexible, you know, as much as I don't like to prompt. When there's no control nets, there's no image referencing, there's very little ecosystem built around it, I dive more into the prompting, right? I lean into it. I'm like, okay, well, this is all I got. This is what I'm going to work with. When I do have the option to pull away, I tend to explore different avenues. But it really is just like working with what you got, and then also taking it upon yourself and coding if you need to get that extra leverage if you can.
Do we have time? Yeah. Hi, Phil. Thanks for the presentation. You seem to be able to bend AI to your will. Is there any particular piece of content you were not able to create using AI or using Comfy, where you felt, you know, not getting there? Because we see a lot of successful pieces of content. I want to hear about the failed cases.
No, this is great. Yeah, edge cases are real. Let me think for a second. So it's actually not something that I couldn't create. It was something that other models were incapable of creating. And when I was talking about mixing LoRa's and training multiple different styles and then smashing them together at the end, I've been doing this for years, and there are simply some models that I own and some styles that I have that you could not pay me to recreate them because I can't. They're so far gone down the just recursive rabbit hole of making model weights that I couldn't recreate them. And so the images they create are also that unique. And I have tried time and time again to get GPT, DALL-E, Flux, every state-of-the-art model that has come out, I've tried and tried and tried to get them to reproduce anything in the same vein, and they always just fall short. I think that's like one of the most profound things for me, because if I trained a model on Lego, I can almost guarantee every model does Lego. You know, if I train a model on watercolor, I can guarantee every model does watercolor, right? But when I stumbled upon this style that, like, no matter what, I could not get it out of these other models, it really sparked this, like, oh, like, I actually found something in latent space that's truly unique, because the weights are so bent out of shape from when they were first created by the original developers that they are in themselves a piece of art. They are one of one. They're unique. That's the only thing that I've failed, because I want more of that style, And it's impossible for me to simulate more of it unless I have to use that model. And then I have to recursively train up into the next state-of-the-art model.
All right, thank you so much. 不好，因为时间的关系，我们不会再接受新的问题。Thank you so much for answering that.